Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. I am wearing my brand new Sukkot shirt. Notice the foliage on it, or the flora, not fauna. So it's good to see everybody. And tonight and then tomorrow, each of the days of Sukkot, I want to reflect with you on 3 different verses from the Tanakh that are connected to Sukkot, and everyone focuses on a different aspect of the holiday. So tonight is a verse from Shemot, from the book of Exodus. So there it describes each of the holidays, and it describes where they fit in the agricultural year. And about Sukkot, it says, V'chag ha'asif tikufat hashana, the feast of ingathering, tikufat hashana. So commentators are confused. What does the phrase tikufat hashana mean? Like, when is it going to be? Pesach is described as the holiday connected to one very clear agricultural event. Shavuot is the wheat harvest. What is tikufat hashana? So some, like the new JPS translation, read it as year's end. So if the Jewish agricultural year started at Pesach, then it ends at Sukkot. And that is when the harvest is more or less completed with the ripening of late summer fruits like figs and grapes. Others say no, tikufat hashana actually means an inflection point at the turning of the year as we head from one season into the next. And it was a debate that went on for years between different rabbis. You know, in the big scheme of things, not an important debate, but for rabbis, important. But in 2018, Haaretz newspaper reported that scientists at Haifa University had reconstructed the contents of one of the last 2 undeciphered Dead Sea Scrolls. There were 60 tiny fragments, so some no bigger than a square centimeter. People thought originally they were different scrolls, but it turns out they were actually one scroll. They pieced them together pretty meticulously, and they produced a calendar that was actually a calendar in code that was used by a Jewish sect that lived in the Judean desert during the Second Temple period. And in this now deciphered scroll, it says the word tikufah. And it says that it actually means the transition of the season. So people who said Sukkot is when the seasons change in the fall, they were the ones who got it right. There's a third sermonic take on the verse. The Slonim Rebbe, a rabbi who wrote the book the Nitivot Shalom, quoted his own rabbi who offered a little bit of a sermon. So he quotes this verse, Chag ha'asif tikufat hashana. He says, that's a reminder that on Sukkot, a Jew can gather asif, le'asof, strength, right? You can gather up strength, and might. Tikufah, instead of season or changing of season, tikifut means might, in serving God the whole way through. So his reading is, as a reminder, on Sukkot, a Jew can gather strength and might in serving God the whole year. So the Slonim Rabbi is not really concerned with defining when the holiday occurs. It occurs when it occurs, but asks us to think about what it can be for us. For him, it was a time of gathering up strength to make it through the days and months ahead so that we can serve God as someone who lived in a place where the winter time was a time that you needed to have your cabbage and your onions and all of those things in your root cellar. He knew about what it meant in the fall to say, a season is coming in which fruits and vegetables will not be so plentiful. We need to store up. And he reads it in a spiritual sense. We should store up the feeling that sits from, if we're lucky enough to sit in a sukkah, to take us back to harvest paths and wandering in the desert. We should really revel in how our senses are activated by the colors of the leaves, if we have a lulav and etrog, by the foods of the holiday, whatever you have. So on Sunday, if you have an etrog, smell it. And if you don't have an etrog, get a lemon and smell that. If you have a lulav, then feel the strength that comes from watching something sway but not break. And if you don't, look outside your window and look at some trees and imagine they're palm trees swaying in praise of life and God and reminding us of the serious power that comes from being able to sway when the wind comes. And every day of the holiday, if you have a sukkah or access to a sukkah, sit in it. If you want to stop by the synagogue sukkah, you can, during the whole week, you can stop by. Over the holiday, people have signed up, but even then, there's probably times you could slip in by yourself. And if not, and just arrange some time to spend some time driving by the sukkah or imagining one in your mind's eye and see in the protective presence of the roof the protection that you want for you and your family. Store all of that up so that we're ready for this next season. I hope that you get the Sukkot that you need, whether it's a time of ending, a time of turning, or a time of gathering strength. Shabbat shalom and Chag Sameach.